Good afternoon, traders. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day market recap for Thursday, June 22nd. The month is rapidly moving along. In this video, we will go through as the indices, of course, some levels to watch, and a lot of today's movers. And certainly there was some outperformance again in today's Qs. Before we get to any of that, here is where you become a member of the Tribeca Trade Group. Check it out. We do a pre-market session that starts every day at 9:10, where we go over all the international moves, which have been interesting of late, as well as what all the commodities are doing, and then we go over some chart setups that I put together, as I do homework every night and after the close, some of which I will go over with you in this video. And then, of course, you also get our midday update, in addition to being in the trading room all day long and seeing option flow and how I kind of work some of those orders throughout the day. But you also get our midday update, where I go over all open positions, what our watch list is up to, and any charts that I think that are of interest in midday. And again, I try to put that midday note together very quickly so that people who are trading full-time or part-time can get a quick glimpse of what the market is doing. So that said, today's price action themes of the day: Qs outperform, but I thought it was overall kind of whippy price action. The breadth wasn't particularly good. It got better, a little bit better as the day progressed, but certainly not all areas of the market were going up today. Watching for, and the other theme that I said was, watching for names to see if this early strength that we saw in tech would carry through, and basically it did for the most part, and many names. So just a quick rundown here. The Qs, again, I've got this highlighted, were up 1.5% from the open. They started down a little bit on the day, so you had a nice trending day. And I know a lot of growth traders, or a lot of people who are trading a lot of tech, they love days like this when you get a nice trending day. But it was, like I said, it was not everything. Small caps actually finished down 0.75%, off the lows, but still not good. And when you compare those charts between what the IWM is doing, I've mentioned for probably at least the last few days, I've just mentioned that I really don't want any part of IWM right now. I just don't think that this is a leading look, and we'll see from time to time, names and areas bounce, but we don't have an uptrend here, right? And this is still not a good looking chart. It's in basically, I would call it no man's land, right in the middle of the value area for the year. So, all that positive mentioning about small caps, and this is going to be the next thing. A couple of weeks back, I've basically heard crickets about that trade. When you look at what the major components of the small caps are, I think you have to realize that financials are a decent portion of the small caps. But I will say this: as much as I'm bad mouthing the small caps, and sometimes when I do that, you do see names rebound, because it's just the way it works. When you kind of get really disgusted in a particular area, or think that it's time to move on to something else, sometimes they do bounce. And here would be a logical place if the small caps do want to do something different than go sideways for this year. A nice bounce at the 20-day moving average would be in order, and that's basically where price is right now. But I tweeted this out earlier just to kind of give a glimpse of what this ratio is doing, Qs to IWM. Of course, Qs are up big this year, and small caps are not. And there was this big move. Remember, this was, I think, in the beginning of the month of June, or right at the end of the month of May, that we reached a kind of a fever pitch in terms of Qs outperformance, and then you saw small caps kind of bounce a little bit. But notice the price action is almost right back there, right? And if you go back to my spreadsheet here for a second, right, the Qs are up 37.5% year to date. and the small caps are only up 5%. So, will we get some type of, a reversion to the mean? I mean, it could be, but I would really kind of wait for when we see stronger breadth and really stronger performance that's at least starting from the small cap. So that'll be something that we keep an eye on. But as of now, it's not there. SPYs were in the middle of that. They were up, interesting. We've seen this a bunch of times too, where small caps lag, Qs lead, and SPY is right in the middle of that, or S&P. That was up about 40 basis points for the day. Also, look at the micro caps today, also down close to 1%. I might as well, considering I'm covering, the areas that are not looking good, the regional banks, right? And I think, I'm not an expert on the regional banks and what they're doing, but it seems like whenever the Fed, and we've got a lot of Fed speak going on right now, Powell concluded his 2-day testimony in front of Congress, but we've got a lot of other Fed speakers that are going to be coming up and speaking tomorrow. And it seems like when they talk about more rate hikes, the banks just don't like that. And they continue to kind of, they're under pressure, and more interest rate hikes right now seem to be weighing on this group. And KRE is giving back, half of this bounce from the lows. I would watch this 40.54. Again, I don't have anything on in this space, but I'm just kind of watching and saying, this doesn't look right in the market. But again, you just don't have to be in that group if you don't want to be, and I am not. So SPY, we'll bring up SPY because we know that in the SPY ETF, we took out this VPOC last week on Thursday, and since then it's been digestion. Today was a nice bounce, and also on the 1-hour chart, we bounced where we needed to, right? So again, multiple time frame analysis, different time frames will show you, different support resistance levels. I rely, mostly on the 1-hour charts and the daily charts. I also look at the weekly chart for bigger picture, and especially, once the week closes, I look at those towards, once we get to the end of the, once we get to the end of the week in a complete weekly bar. But so going to the 1-hour bar, and what this showed us is that we bounced right on the support of 433.88. So right where we needed to. Qs as well, and we'll start here with the 1-hour chart before I go to this, but Qs actually did not get to the bottom of value. I thought that they would, but they were strong enough to kind of hang out there. And you could see they're even rallying here a little bit in the after hours. So really nice move, and nice performance. And again, you actually have a bullish engulfing candle for the Qs today. So, everybody talking about Tesla yesterday and the bearish engulfing. Well, you got a bullish engulfing. Speaking of Tesla, we can start with this one. I'm still long a small position of Tesla. I didn't add to it today. I didn't add to it yesterday. I don't like bearish engulfing candles, but you could see, as bad as I talk about this all the time in the trading room, in the Tribeca Trade Group trading room, that sometimes you could have horrible looking candles, and if it doesn't change the trend, then it's not really so much to worry about. And for now, price is hanging above this 5-period moving average. Now, this could easily fall back below, but for now, for today, it's still holding the short-term trend. But again, it won't take much, right? For now, I stick in a small position of Tesla because I think long-term Tesla goes higher. And I'm sorry, when I say long-term, again, I'm referring to the weekly chart and where I think it could be headed, which is 320, but certainly I don't think it gets there in a straight line. All right, so some other areas. We talked about the Qs. We talked about, the outperformance there. In terms of sectors too, I have my own charts that I want to go over, but it was consumer discretionary. Why? Because consumer discretionary, the two biggest holdings, the two biggest weights in the XLY ETF are Tesla and Amazon. That's probably where we'll go to next here in this video. But if you don't believe me, here are the weights. Here's the weights in the XLY consumer discretionary ETF. And certainly Amazon is 23% of this ETF. Tesla is 20%. You add those two together and you get 43% of this ETF is those two companies. So very top heavy that ETF. So let's talk about Amazon for a minute. All right, so here's the weekly chart of Amazon. It's been making several, how many green candles is this in a row at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And looking at the weekly chart here, something that we talked about when this occurred was this rallied up. This was back on 6.5 that we took out this virgin point of control. And since then, it's just been in digestion, right? And a lot of times that's what takes place after you take out one of those big levels of virgin point of control where there's overhead supply, you get digestion, right? And notice it held in here okay, right? Even though back and forth price action, it never broke the 20-day moving average. It never really broke the value area except for this one day. Besides that, has been staying above. So I think that this nice I love digestion and sideways movement in an uptrend, and then when it resolves higher. And right now, that's what we have in Amazon. And I'm bullish. And I think this thing can get up to 139 and 142. And I did add a trade today. And I wasn't early adding that trade today. I actually put it on in the afternoon. So I just think that this is nice. I hate to chase a day where it's up 4%, but this is the first day in a couple of weeks that this stock has really done anything. So I think it's kind of making its next move higher out of this. Again, I use a lot of, if you've ever read the Darvis book, the market webs are very similar to that, looking for when something is in a range and then it breaks above, right? So in any event, that's Amazon. I actually day traded Microsoft today, and this was pretty nice. This worked well, and I didn't stay long in this trade. I kind of thought it was going to be a day trade all in all, but you could see this thing, it got to my point. I got to my target. I bought this thing right on the break of the 5-minute value area, and I took it off in here, and look at it still go. And I said, when I took this thing off, I said it would be worthwhile keeping an eye on it because we have seen some bullish option activity in this name. And I think overall, Microsoft you got a nice dip in Microsoft, right? Went all the way up to 351. And, found the support at the 20-day moving average and bounce. So very logical place for that to take place. I'm going to go through a few other names in various different groups and sectors, but I thought that those were kind of the Amazon and the Microsoft were really interesting for the day. Option activity, EXEL. This is one you probably haven't heard me talk about in a long time because I haven't really been watching this name. But that's the benefit of paying attention to the tape and option activity, because there was some nice positioning. I think it was July calls that we saw in EXEL. And this did break the value area. I think when the calls hit the tape, the stock was trading around 1950, closed at 1988. So nice move there. Also, a name that I've been watching, and I tweeted about this on Friday. It is now breaking the value area. This is a medical device company. This is Inspire Medical Systems, right? So again, kind of just mentioned like Darvis and Darvis boxes and so forth. Well, this is breaking the value area and the range here, and 313.33 is, I think, a level to be long against. First real close out of the June value area. So I like this on both the daily and the weekly chart. Looks pretty good here too. This is break, basically a breakout here that you've got in INSP. Let's talk about a couple of the beverage companies. Celsius got a price target raise this morning. Stock was strong, and then after hours it got an upgrade. So this is another one where I've managed to stay long through the consolidation here, and has been making a real nice move. So looking for the next leg higher, in this one after a little bit of consolidation. Monster Beverage actually saw some calls, and I haven't been watching this one because I don't like to double up too much in such a small group such as the beverage group. But Monster was something that I traded at this breakout when this happened, and it's been consolidating. I would watch the $60 level in Monster Beverage. This looks pretty decent here if it can break that. All right. the semiconductors, right? Nice. This was something that I was looking for today to see if the semiconductors would bounce after a couple down days. And they did. They didn't outperform. The SMH was up about 0.5%, but I've been watching this RMBS for a while. This had a nice bounce where it needed to. I hear a lot of people talking about AMD. AMD kind of, did not bounce today. Was down another 1.3%, but very close to filling this gap. Right. Also, there's some support. If you really like this company, there's some support here that I would watch, which is 109.84 to possibly trade again. So, maybe a name to watch tomorrow, even though it's not really one of the stronger names at this point. But I did go long RMBS today on that bounce. Again, when we get to support, what I generally do is watch for the support to hold and a bounce to basically start. Right. And that's what I'm watching. That's what I would be watching in AMD. Another one is ACLS, which has been a strong semiconductor name that also bounced quite nicely today. Moving over to the little bit of the software space in cyberspace, MDB had their investor day today. Stock did pretty well, up 4%. However, it didn't close on the highs. I think this will be interesting to watch where this thing closes, because you've heard me talk about this name a couple times if you're a regular viewer of my videos, because on the weekly chart, it's got to break 381.73. Another, first of all, this Palo Alto has been absolutely on fire. Barely a pullback, sticking with kind of the software cyberspace. Small red candles here, and look at the move today. Super strong Palo Alto. Another name that a member brought my attention to, this name is CyberArk Software. Right, very interesting on the weekly chart and on the daily chart. It may be breaking the value area. Again, the weekly bar is not done, so I would watch 158.94 tomorrow. But this would be a nice break out of kind of some sideways movement, and it did break the value area for the month, which is 157.74. So not bad if it can kind of get going. CrowdStrike saw a small weekly call buyer today, but again, this has not been the leader in the group, and so of course things can bounce, and it did bounce today, but not my favorite in the group. Right, I tend to stick with stronger names. So we covered that, and then just a little bit about the metals today, right? CMC, this was something that actually put this setup in the trading room yesterday, and I didn't realize that the company had earnings this morning, but monster move for a metals company. CMC up 8% and really nice, and this company looks great on multiple time frames. Here's the weekly chart. Look at the bounce that this thing has had on the bottom, the top of this year's value area. Another name that I like, for some reason I grouped these two names together. This is ATI. This is another type of steel name. I actually went long today on this like inside body day. So I'm looking for continuation out of this one. This has been a nice breakout, kind of move back, breakout, a little sideways move. So again, I like to have something, a little bit different. I don't want to have in my portfolio like all software names or all semi names. I like to be a little bit more diversified, as long as those groups are also moving appropriately and showing some strength in them too. So that's it for today's video, guys. Have a great night, and see you tomorrow.